A soft morning light spread across the quiet valley as a gentle breeze moved through the tall grass, and the distant sound of birds waking the world filled the air. And in that peaceful hour a young woman named Irina stepped out of her small wooden home, holding her heart steady with a calm strength she never fully understood, for she always believed that the deepest beauty of a soul was found in the quiet moments when no one was watching. And she walked barefoot on the cool earth, feeling the soft soil rise beneath her feet as if the land itself welcomed her, and the sky above her seemed to open wide with warmth as though inviting her to step forward into another day of grace and purpose. Irina had always carried a soft yet unwavering longing to live in a way that pleased the one who shaped her with love, and though her days were simple, her heart carried a depth that could not be measured, for everything she did was touched with a tenderness that came from a constant desire to honor the divine presence guiding her path. And she would begin each day with stillness, listening with her soul for the quiet whisper of guidance that seemed to rise not from the world around her but from the chambers within her heart, where truth rested like a gentle flame glowing without noise. As she walked past the river, she touched the surface with her fingertips, feeling the water glide with a soothing calm, and she knew that every drop flowing past her carried the reminder that life kept moving and changing, yet never without purpose. And she lifted her eyes to the sky and breathed deeply, letting the cool air fill her chest, and in that breath she felt the closeness of the one who crafted her spirit with softness and strength. And even though she spoke no words, something within her connected with a love greater than her understanding. Her village was small, quiet, and woven with simple routines, and yet everywhere Irina went people found comfort in her presence, for she carried a gentleness that eased troubled minds and a quiet courage that inspired tired hearts. And though she never sought praise, her actions shone brighter than any spoken promises, for she listened with patience, she helped with humility, and she cared with a steady warmth that seemed to flow naturally from her soul. But Irina did not live this way to be admired. She lived this way because her heart was shaped by a longing to walk in step with the divine, and even in moments when life felt heavy she carried a deep trust that every challenge served a purpose, and that every tear washed her spirit in a way that allowed new grace to grow within her. And when storms came, she stood firm, not because she was fearless but because she believed she was never walking alone. One evening when the sky turned golden and the sun melted into the horizon, Irina sat at the edge of a quiet field watching the fading light paint the world in soft hues, and she felt a stirring within her spirit as though something new was forming, a quiet calling pulling her toward a deeper purpose that she had not yet discovered. And though she did not know what the coming days would hold, she felt peace rise within her like a gentle tide. She closed her eyes, letting her heart listen, and in that still moment she sensed a truth blooming within her, a truth she had always known but never fully understood, that a woman who walked with love, patience, and strength was shaped not by circumstance but by devotion, and that her worth was rooted not in what the world gave her but in the quiet faith she carried even when no one saw. Irina opened her eyes and stood slowly, letting the soft night air wrap around her, and she felt an unspoken promise settle deep inside her spirit, a promise that her journey was only beginning and that each step she took in love and faith would lead her closer to the purpose she had been created for. And as the stars began to appear like scattered lights across the darkening sky, she walked home with a steady calm, knowing that her heart was not shaped by the world but by the one who called her forward with gentle strength and endless love. Night settled softly across the village, wrapping every home in a gentle quiet, and Irina lay awake listening to the faint rustle of leaves outside her window, and though the world slept, her heart continued to stir with a calm pull as if something deep within her was being awakened slowly and silently, and she felt a warmth spread through her chest, a reminder that her journey was moving forward even when the path seemed hidden. When morning returned, the air was cool and sweet, and Irina stepped outside, letting the soft light rest upon her skin, and she walked toward the hills where the early mist floated low like a delicate veil covering the earth, and each step felt guided by a quiet assurance that she was being led with purpose, and she carried within her a secret strength, not loud, not demanding, simply steady like the rising of the sun. She reached a clearing where wildflowers grew in bright, gentle colors, and she sat among them, letting her fingers brush the soft petals as she breathed deeply, and she felt the stillness embrace her, for it was in stillness that her heart listened most clearly. And she remembered moments from her childhood when she would wander to this same place seeking comfort whenever she felt lost, and even then she sensed a presence watching over her, shaping her, guiding her, teaching her to walk in love and quiet courage. As she sat there, she noticed an older woman from the village slowly making her way across the field, her steps careful yet determined, and Irina rose to meet her with a warm smile, for she recognized her as Leora, a woman known for her wisdom and gentle strength. And Leora approached her with eyes filled with kindness as though she had been searching for her. "Irina, my child," she said in her soft, steady voice, though without any punctuation. Her words carried deep meaning, and she reached for Irina's hand, holding it with warmth as though passing a quiet blessing, and she looked into her eyes as if she could see the depth of her spirit, and after a long silent moment she nodded with understanding. There is a light in you that grows brighter every day, Irina, and the world around you feels it even when you do not speak. And though her words flowed gently, they filled Irina with a warmth that spread through her heart, and she felt both humbled and strengthened, for she knew these words were not meant as praise but as recognition of the quiet devotion guiding her life. Leora and Irina walked together through the field, letting the breeze move around them, and Irina listened as the older woman shared stories of moments when faith became her strength and love became her anchor, and Irina felt each word settle within her spirit like seeds being planted for a future yet unseen. And though the path ahead remained uncertain, she felt comfort knowing that others too had walked through seasons of waiting and learning. When they reached the river, the water shimmered with the reflection of the morning sky, and Leora gently placed her hand on Irina's shoulder, as though encouraging her to look deeper, not at the river but at her own heart. And Irina understood without being told that the journey she was stepping into required more trust, more patience, more openness than she had ever given before, and yet she felt no fear, only a steady peace. As the two women parted, Irina walked along the riverbank feeling the soft earth beneath her feet, and she thought of the quiet truth Leora had reminded her of, that a heart aligned with love and grace carried a strength that could not be shaken, and Irina felt this truth rise within her with each step she took. The day passed slowly with warm sunlight falling across the fields, and Irina spent the afternoon helping her neighbors, carrying baskets, offering hands of comfort, listening to stories with patience and understanding, and wherever she went people seemed to breathe easier simply because she was near, and though she did not realize it, her presence carried a steady glow that soothed weary spirits and lifted heavy hearts. As the light began to fade, Irina returned to her home, her body tired but her heart full, and she stood at her door watching the sunset paint the world with soft gold and crimson, and she felt the quiet call within her grow stronger, a call that came not from the world but from the depths of her soul. She stepped inside, lit a small lantern, and sat near the window where the night breeze moved gently through the room, and she closed her eyes, allowing her heart to rest in the silence, and in that silence she felt a deep assurance settling over her like a soft blanket, reminding her that her path was unfolding with perfect timing. And when she finally lay down to sleep, she carried with her a quiet certainty that the next chapter of her journey would bring revelations that would shape her spirit even more deeply, guiding her toward the purpose she had been created to fulfill. Dawn returned with a quiet glow spreading slowly across the sky as Irina rose from her rest, feeling a gentle strength flowing through her as if the night had wrapped her in soft grace and prepared her for the steps ahead. And she moved outside, letting the cool morning air surround her, and she sensed that something within her spirit had shifted even though she could not yet name it. She walked toward the tall hills where the early sun cast long warm rays across the earth, and with each step she felt lighter, as though the burdens she once carried had loosened their hold. And she reached the old stone path that led to the ridge where the sky seemed closest, and she paused, listening to the soft rustle of leaves and the quiet hum of morning life awakening around her, and she felt the world breathe with her. As she climbed higher, she remembered moments of her journey, moments when fear tried to dim her light, moments when doubt whispered into her heart, moments when loneliness tried to settle in her spirit. Yet through every season she found herself held by a love that never abandoned her, and she knew her strength did not come from herself alone but from the deeper presence that guided her through every quiet step. When she reached the ridge, she sat down on the warm earth, feeling the sky open wide above her and the valley stretching like a painting beneath her feet, and she allowed her heart to speak in silence, letting all the tender truths of her journey rise gently to the surface. And she realized that becoming a woman shaped with grace, devotion and strength was not a single moment but a lifelong unfolding of trust and love. As she sat there, she felt someone approach, and when she turned she saw a young girl from the village walking carefully toward her, her expression shy yet filled with hope, and Irina smiled warmly, inviting her to sit, and the girl settled beside her with quiet hesitation, and after a long moment she spoke softly, her voice trembling like a small bird taking its first flight. She said she often felt lost, unsure of herself, unsure of her purpose, unsure of whether her heart could ever be strong or gentle or brave enough to make a difference in the world, and she looked at Irina as though searching for a reason to believe that she too could grow into something beautiful. Irina listened with full attention, letting each word settle without judgment, and she placed her hand gently over the girl's trembling fingers, giving her reassurance without speaking, and she looked into her eyes with the same steady kindness that had once guided her, and she wished to tell her that strength grows quietly, that courage rises slowly, that the heart becomes whole through small acts of love and trust. Without using any words, Irina allowed her presence to speak, and the girl felt her worries soften as though a weight within her was slowly lifting, and the two sat together watching the morning unfold, and in that shared silence the girl felt a new beginning whisper into her spirit, a beginning shaped by hope rather than fear. After a peaceful while the girl stood and smiled with newfound calm, and she walked back toward the village carrying with her a gentle light that had been awakened, and Irina watched her go with a quiet joy, knowing that sometimes the greatest way to guide another was not through grand speeches but through the steady glow of a heart rooted in love. The day stretched softly across the hills, and Irina wandered through the meadows, noticing how every breeze, every flower, every bird seemed to mirror the quiet harmony she felt within herself, and she understood that the true beauty of walking in grace was not in perfection but in intention, and every choice she made to love, to trust, to forgive, to remain gentle even when life grew heavy became a reflection of the divine shaping her life from within. As evening approached, she returned to the river that had always brought her peace, and she sat on the smooth stones watching the water flow with quiet strength, and she placed her hand on her heart, feeling the steady rhythm that had carried her through countless days, and she knew with deep certainty that her journey would continue to expand in ways she could not imagine, and that every step would be guided with purpose. She rose slowly, letting the fading sunlight warm her skin, and she walked back toward the village, her silhouette moving gently against the golden horizon, and she carried with her the unspoken truth that a woman after divine love was not defined by flawless days or perfect choices but by the quiet, unwavering desire to walk in kindness, humility, trust, and strength. As the stars appeared one by one, Irina stepped into her home where warm lantern light waited for her, and she felt a deep fullness settle in her soul, for she understood now more clearly than ever that her life was not simply a journey of days but a living reflection of love shaped by every moment she chose, gentleness over bitterness, trust over fear, compassion over judgment, and faith over doubt. And with this understanding glowing softly within her, she rested her head and closed her eyes, letting peace fill her completely, knowing she would rise again with the dawn, ready to live another day with a heart aligned in quiet, beautiful harmony with the one who guided her with endless grace and everlasting love.